Good morning, my dear friends. Maybe it's not morning where you are. Maybe it's night or afternoon or whenever you're watching this show. Alright, it's not a show. It's not a show. Hello, my dear friends of the bookish community. If you don't know me, my name is Sue, and today I will be talking about Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott and the Greta Gerwig movie adaptation of the same name. Yeah, it's called Little Woman 2. So I planned this video to have 3 sections. The first section is basically for people who don't want any spoilers and they just want to know if they should read the book or watch the movie. The answer is yes. The second section is for the people who have read the book and enjoyed the book or not enjoyed the book and you just want to hear my thoughts on it. And the third section is going to bleed into the second section where I'm gonna talk about the movie and the relation of the movie to the book and the relation of the book to the movie. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna start now. I'll see you in the next cut. Okay, I'm gonna start this video with a quote by scholar Judith Fetterly about the book. Much of the popularity of Little Woman then and now derives from its embodiment of the cultural fantasy of the happy family. So I feel like the thing that stands out most about this book is its characters and kind of the embrace of the world that Louisa May Alcott kind of invites you into with her writing. I would say you end up like caring a lot and very deeply for the characters, especially the 4 March sisters, Meg, Jo, Amy, and Beth. The writing style is easy to understand. The plot is very simple and elegantly put together, kind of like in a slice of life, coming of age kind of story. And the moral lessons are pretty relatable, realistic, and what was the last R that I planned? Relevant. Even in our modern times, and even if you don't agree with all of them. So I started reading the book feeling kind of indifferent about like the somewhat unassuming cast of characters, except for maybe Jo. And halfway through the book I was just like, wait, I actually care about these characters. Like, when did that happen? Like, it took me by surprise. It's as if like the time you spend with all the characters make you know them. You feel like you know them inside and out. It's like talking to an old friend or like catching up with a childhood friend. And NGL, the story is a very long. I listened to the audiobook at night, so it was about 5 days before I finished everything, which is not bad because I mean I could just continuously listen to it and I played Candy Crush. But some chapters of the book were kind of boring. Like, I didn't care much for certain parts of the chapters because it was just about their mundane lives. But having said that, I'm really glad that I did listen to those parts because I realized having the context and knowing what happens in the book really adds to the movie when you watch it. The payoff in understanding the references made in the movie is just so worth it to me. I feel like me consuming these 2 mediums side by side made the story whole. It made it complete. Like, they completed one another. Like 2 lovers. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, and just to preface that, it was a rating of the story as a whole and what I thought of the story as a whole rather than just the book itself. So that's all I'm gonna say for this portion of the video because I don't know what's considered as spoilers nowadays. Like, I mean, the book is 150 years old and in some videos they just straight up go that Beth dies. Okay, so overall I really enjoyed this story, but truth be told I had a lot of mixed feelings about it while I was listening to the audiobook, reading it, and it was kind of my fault because I kept imposing my own values onto the book even though they were just the values of the time. The whole front portion of the book that was supposed to be Little Woman was basically one moral lesson after another for the girls, and even Louisa May Alcott herself said that it was moral pep for the young, and she kind of didn't want to write this story at first because she's more into like adventure, just like Jo wrote when she was in New York. But upon rereading it, I realized that these were some of the most comforting parts of the book. A lot of the quotable lines came from the earlier parts of the book. So yeah, upon rereading, I realized the parts that might have made me not want to read it again I am now sold. So that's great. There's no more problems. And I must say that it was actually very, very comforting to listen again to Marmee teaching the kids about moral lessons and life lessons. She's such an underrated character. I feel that she's the one that provides the comforting atmosphere in the book. Because she spreads values like unity, family togetherness, kindness, humility, all those feel good values. So I think that kind of what brings the family together. She's the uniter of the family. Yeah, that's why the book feels so homely, and it's like the quote I mentioned at the beginning of this video, where it's like a cultural fantasy of this just great family. It just feels great, and I feel like Marmee is responsible for that, so props to her. And I also appreciate that she's the kind of mom that will let you make your mistakes before reprimanding you. So, and she doesn't even really scold her daughters. She just listens to their problems and then tells them what she feels is morally right, and she kind of lets them make their own decisions, which great parenting, by the way. I thought that she was a very good mama, instead of just being like, mother knows best, listen to your mumsy. And in the movie, she definitely wasn't portrayed as like this powerful epitome of morality as she was in the book, but that's why I say you need to read the book in order to really appreciate the role of Marmee in the story, because it's not really portrayed in the movie. But it's okay, because like she's still portrayed as a uniter and being there for the girls and having a piece of all of them in her, so it's fine. As long as you know the context of the book, you feel the role of Marmee in the whole story. And each of the March sisters definitely embody the different roles of women in that society. So Meg helped to portray in the book the differences in the lives of poor and wealthy women in that society, and also a little bit of what married life is like. So her lessons revolve kind of around not being envious, not being greedy or too superficial, and like wanting to just be rich, but rather be rich in other areas like love and compassion and humility, and just being contented with where you are, even in poverty. Yeah, and that's a lot of what Meg represents in the book, which is like contentment in poverty in a sense. And I love her art because the contrast is very clearly shown in the beginning, where she was vain and she wanted to be rich and wanted to marry rich and go back to her rich and wealthy lifestyle, and at the end of the book where she is poor but she's happy with her good husband, and she's rich in other areas, as I said, in love and in family. And yeah, I also like that Louisa May Alcott doesn't shy away from showing the troubles of marriage, and how even after marriage and throughout marriage you will still have the faults that you did have before that. So she bought the $50 silk, and she was still very tempted by all these luxurious things and said really horrible and mean things to poor old Brooke, but she learns a lesson in the end. And even though I am not super happy about the way that they talk about marriage and the role of the man and the woman in the family and the household, it's okay, because that was just the time, and it was pretty equal for that time. I mean, Marmee did mention that the man does have to take care of the kids as well, but never mind, this is not about that. Moving on. Amy March is my favorite character in this whole book thing. She's the most relatable to me, and I very much feel like it's because she's portrayed as the one with the most faults, and therefore she is one of the most hated characters in fiction apparently. But she is spoiled, she's immature, and she wants other people to like her. She's like driven by that need and want to be loved. But she doesn't shy away from recognizing that she has these faults, and she tries to correct them. So like, one of my favorite moments in the first part of the book was when she decided to keep the ring that Aunt March gave her to remind herself to not be selfish. And she realizes that in order to get what she wants, in order to be loved by people like Beth, she had to be unselfish like Beth. And I think that was just a really great lesson in general. Like it touched me and it helped me, and I feel like that's just a lesson that everybody should take note of in general. But yes, she wants to be loved and she wants to be great. She's ambitious, she's strong-headed, she is passionate, she's strategic to get what she wants. She works within the rules of the society, and she tries to embody the expectation of a woman in that society the best she can in order for her to proceed in that society, to like move ahead. In her, you just see the fiery passion of someone who will do anything to get what she wants, and she tries her very best and she works so hard to just get what she wants. My favorite quote in the book is by her, and it's so simple. It's just, "I want to be great or nothing." And at the same time, like, I think this is also true with a lot of the March sisters. They don't let their ambition or their desires get ahead of them being self-aware and caring for each other and caring for others and doing what's right, which is the influence of Marmee, which is why she's amazing. But yes, back to Amy. She just knows that in order to provide for herself, in order to provide for her family, working within, as I said, the rules of the society, she has to marry rich, because, like, there's a quote, she says, "I may be mercenary, but I hate poverty, and I don't mean to bear it a minute longer than I can help. One of us must marry well. Meg didn't, Joe won't, Beth can't, so I shall, and make everything okay all around." She understands what it takes to achieve what she wants and succeed in this society. And I think in the movie, they portrayed it super well with her famous line. I'll talk more about that later. And yes, she doesn't become a great artist, but she does marry rich, which is alright. I guess she does get what she wants in a sense. And yeah, I think I'm okay with that. I love Amy. And I get that not everyone who toils will get their dues, but I think out of all the March sisters, Amy is one of the ones who deserves it because she works so hard to get it. I won't say much about Beth and Laurie because I feel like they didn't impact me as much as the other three sisters did. Laurie's a sister. Beth's death was already foreshadowed in the beginning of the novel. She was always portrayed as kind of the most perfect sister, in the sense that she was compassionate, she was kind, she was humble, and she was content in her poverty, and she was content with her family, and she didn't have any earthly desires or ambition except for maybe music, and she did get to have her own piano, and she was very content with that. She was very grateful for that. She doesn't have that many faults. She may be timid, but that I wouldn't consider that really like a fault. Like, it's just something she had to overcome. So even though it's sad, it kind of makes sense that if anybody were to pass, it would be her, because she doesn't really have anything more to contribute to the world, because she's contributed all that she could. She's been the perfect daughter for like 19 years, and she doesn't need to learn anything more from the world. She doesn't have that many faults. She doesn't need to correct anything within her. She's like perfect. So it does make sense that she is the one who does end up passing away. Laurie, on the other hand, was just viewed in relation to the rest of the sisters for me. So I liked his dynamic with Joe. I liked how they kind of redefined what a friendship between different genders could be, though Laurie had to kind of just ruin it by falling for the girl. I like him together with Amy. I think that Amy balanced him out while Joe kind of just riled him up a little bit more. And it wasn't really her fault, it was just his fault. Like, he just was very emotional. So I also like the contrast in writing that Louisa May Alcott kind of tried to do, where he was definitely more emotional and more immature, lazy. All his bad characteristics came out when he was still like pining over Joe. But once he kind of realized that he had feelings for Amy, his temperament like calmed, and he was milder, he was more measured, he was more compassionate and kind. So yeah, I like that contrast in his behavior and his person when he was thinking about the two different girls. I particularly like the metaphor when Amy and Laurie were in the boat and they were like rowing together, and it was like they were rowing smoothly through the water, and that was a great metaphor for them working together and them balancing each other out well. Yeah, I like that metaphor. I got you. I saw that, Louisa. Okay, now it's the time to talk about Joe. While she's not my favorite character, I still love her. She is independent, she's fierce, she's boisterous, she's feminist at heart, though she gets subdued like immediately in the novel because her arc is kind of like, I need to become more womanly and demure, and like, goddamn. Like, there's this one quote where she kind of goes, I'll try to be what he loves to call me, a little woman, and not be rough and wild, but do my duty here instead of wanting to be somewhere else. She says that about her dad, and I get that she wants to be good for him, but like, I'm sad. Why can't she be rough and wild? Why? And she basically has just the most badass lines in the entire book. I'm happy as I am, and I love my liberty too well to be in a hurry to give it up for any mortal man. I find it poor logic to say that because women are good, women should vote. Men do not vote because they are good. They vote because they are male, and women should vote not because we are angels and men are animals, but because we are human beings and citizens of this country. Badass. Yes, Joe. But it gets all ruined because she falls in love with a guy. She does. She falls in love with a guy, she gets lonely, and why you gotta be human, Joe? Why? So in the later chapters, when she kind of loses her ambition and she stops writing and she falls in love and she becomes more measured and demure, it's disappointing, I guess. But if she were to fall in love with anybody, I'm glad that it's Professor Bear. I'm just gonna say Bear, like Bear. Yeah, I'm glad that it's him because he does suit her way more than Laurie does, in my opinion. But also, I'm very glad that after I read the book, I also read up on Louisa May Alcott and watched a lot of videos about Louisa May Alcott. I'll link some of them below. Because Louisa May Alcott's story is so integral into the narrative, like her own personal story. And I also read that she herself didn't want Jo to be married. She actually wanted her to be a spinster. She's actually quite a bit of a rebel herself and like badass herself. And she said in one of her journals, girls write to ask who this little woman marry, as if that was the only aim and end of a woman's life. I won't marry Jo to Laurie to please anyone. Like, she's just, no, I'm not gonna. She's funny. But of course, publishers at the time wanted to satisfy readers, and it was just the trend at the time, you know, for like women to be married off to men or die. So that's what happened. But it's okay because Louisa May Alcott herself earned a lot of money and she kept the copyright for her book, so pretty badass. So that's why transition into the movie, where if you watched it, you know that towards the end of the movie, the lines between Louisa May Alcott's life, represented by Jo, and the story that she wrote is kind of blurred. So in the movie, you don't know which one is reality, and you kind of understand that in Jo's story, she and Professor Bear get together, but you also see the images of her getting her book and getting her book published and getting the copyright, just like Louisa May Alcott. So those lines that are blurred, I feel like it fixes the problem of the book. Like, the ending that so many people are mad about and like undermine the whole feminist front portion of the story is fixed in the movie without undermining the character relationships, like with Professor Bear and Meg with Brooke and Laurie with Amy. These relationships are maintained and respected, but at the same time it's presented with an understanding of the trends at the time and the limitations of women at the time. The movie is brilliant. It's so good. It completes the story. I love it so much. So props to Greta Gerwig for giving justice to the story of the little woman. Greta Gerwig takes advantage of the trends of our time, where finally equality for women and equality of just genders in general is a trend now. It's trending, and she takes advantage of that in the movie, where she allows the characters to get their just ending. And this was something that Louisa May Alcott couldn't do with the trends in her time. So it really just full circle, like Greta Gerwig did it. She did a thing and she did it well. And she also paid a lot of respect to the original story. Like, she didn't add or change that much dialogue, except for certain additions that push the message of the movie and things that honestly should have just been added into the book in the first place. So like Jo's iconic line, the great line, hopefully I can add in the clip. Then Amy's commentary on how marriage is an economic proposition, like I talked about earlier. Even though it's not presented this way in the book, it's like everything that a woman supposedly owns at that time will be given to her husband once they're married, and that's like, woman will own nothing, so she has to be the one to take control of her own life and to marry rich so that she can provide resource, like, and she's willing to sacrifice her own happiness for that, which makes Amy even more amazing. And also the portions of the movie where she balances the desires of different women. And that's so relevant to people nowadays, you know. Some women want to be politicians, some women want to be housewives, some women want to start their own business. It's different for everyone, right? That's respected in the movie, and it shows that it's respected at that time, so it should be respected now. And just about the movie itself, like, it's brilliant. I love how Greta Gerwig, and she talked about this in a few interviews, where the dialogue kind of bleeds into one another. So like if one person starts a dialogue, the next person will kind of interject ever so slightly into the sentence, so that it all kind of just links together. So the liveliness of the March house is captured so well, in like the hustle and bustle and everything. It's so beautiful, like the way that it was done. And if you read the book, you know the context, and all the scenes feel like a distant memory. It's like when you finally see Laurie and Amy kind of reunite in Europe, I was just like, wait, I missed the characters. It had been half a day since I finished the book, and I was like, I already miss the characters, and I cried. So as I said, reading the book gives you the context for all the Easter eggs, all the references that they have in the movie. So one particular one that I really enjoyed was when Amy passes Laurie the two drawings that she has of him, the one that was made in the beach and the one that she just did of him. Timothée Chalamet in all his glory didn't react in the movie. He kind of just like you could tell he was thinking, but you didn't know what he was thinking. But if you read the book, you would know that it was kind of an important moment in him realizing that he was way better of a person before this whole thing. Like when he was younger, he was more lively and he was a better version of himself, and that was a good realization for him in the book. Because the book is third person omniscient, right? You can hear the character's thoughts, but that isn't so in the movie, which is good. I'm glad there's no voiceover. Knowing the context of the book, you kind of just fill in these things and these thoughts into the movie, in the scene, and it's just like, that's so meta, that's great, I love it. I get all the references, and I'm just happy to just see them being happy. So yeah, the cast is amazing, the script is genius, and the messages just completed the story of the book. Just like the book provides a great context and a depth to the movie. And if I had consumed any of them separately, I think it wouldn't have been complete. Something would have been missing. I'm in the fandom now. Like, I'm a Little Womaner, so if you want to talk to me about it, please do. Please, I just want to hear all the thoughts, even if you don't agree with me, even if you hate Amy, even if you love Joe, even if you want Joe and Laurie to get together. Please comment down below and tell me that, please. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys real soon.